Hop on in.
All right, welcome back to the mission. It is good for us to be back. I'm joining them on the couch today. One, because it's just us four. Two, it's a lot easier to edit when I don't have to switch between two cameras. So, thanks for having me on the couch, boys. I feel like I'm part of the podcast now, so that's very good. Um, yeah, good to be back. How are y'all?
How are you guys? I mean, you're the
Yeah.
ones that did
Well, we'll chit chat
exceptional
first,
travel.
and then
Yeah.
we'll jump to Honduras because I
Yeah.
think we've probably both got quite a bit to say about it. But how's life? How was the last two episodes? We just dropped Mario's testimony episode today, which for us is the 20. I don't even know the date. The 28th.
Yeah.
Um, so we appreciate you guys. The great episodes, last two episodes. Really proud of y'all for taking care of all that. Shout out to Ben for I think Ben did the editing for the last episode that dropped before this one. So if there are any mistakes, you can tell a difference in our editing process. But yeah, how's life? It's been 2 weeks.
It was good. It's been like super busy just in general. But as for the last two episodes, that was really good. It was fun as always having Mario over and just same way edifying and interesting to see how like not different his perspectives were, but like how he brings different stuff to the table than like we would. And then same way his testimony was awesome. I've heard it a bunch of times and it's still like it it's awesome. Like if you ever meet the guy and know his testimony, you're like, dude, there's no way that was you. Like 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago, whatever it was. Um, but then otherwise, like just working on trucks too and living life. That's what I've been up to.
Nice.
I was gonna say nothing. Nothing's been happening, and then I remembered we finally finished up our premarital counseling class
Nice.
for from church. We got the certificate and everything. Apparently, it's cheaper for when you actually like document to the government that you're getting married. Like the marriage license that you have is like 60% off or something.
really?
I'm not sure. Yeah, they're like it's either that or it's free. We're like they're like take it or leave. We're like we'll do whatever. Like it's the right thing to do. It's nice to have the benefit, but you go there because you want to learn and really like build through Christ. And then the other part is we also took membership classes. We were supposed to take them all in January, so we weren't doubling up. But in February or at the end of January, we had the winter storm, so we weren't able to have all of them. We finished them up in February. Thought we were good to go. Members of the church, everything's great. Then they go, oh, you have to meet one on one with a mentor.
Mm.
That's fine, okay, let's do that. They're like, they just put a form in front of us. They're like, scan this QR code, find a time for them. We're like, oh, okay, you know what, we get it. And we go through, and like half of them can only meet Monday through Thursday from like 1 to 4. And I'm like, I can't do that. Like, I have work. What's going on? And so we find Meredith and I find one, or she finds a girl. I find a guy that can meet at like 11 on the 8th. So like in a week. And we're like, okay, great. Meet with them right after church or right after a service. It'll be fantastic. We click on our own. We both hit submit. Hers goes through. Mine does not. What? And there are like 20 people in this membership class. Maybe like, oh no. But there were like 16 people, 20 people in this membership class. And somebody in the time that it took for me to find the person and hit submit had found the same person and already submitted it.
Oh.
And so I had to then, as you guys know with timing, I had to pick an 8 a.m. meeting with this person. And for us today, a little bit behind 8 a.m. because of a certain someone. So I'm going to have to rush that for church as well in a week. But, praise the Lord, we're going to be official members of the church and then get involved there, whether that's volunteering or just in a different small group there, however that is. So
Very nice.
Nice.
And it's official members of the local church, not the church as a whole.
yes.
So that's good. What kind of things? I mean, obviously not to get personal, but like, what kind of things was the counseling for? Like, what was expressed, and how did you grow through that?
Part of it is like, I think the first one was just understanding like, hey, we had 4 sessions. The first one was like understanding that you're bringing different backgrounds into this relationship. And so it's like, hey, like have to understand where she comes from historically, where her how her family talked to her growing up, how your family talked to you growing up, and understand those differences. And so if you have somebody that comes from a very authoritarian background to one that is not, they're gonna have different parents, they're gonna have different expectations. It's just everything like that. That was the piece there that was like, of their parents were like, hey, you can do anything, you're fully capable, versus one that's always pushing their kid down. It's like they have different expectations and different necessities in a relationship to lift each other up, right? And then the third class, or the second one was personality types. It was an Enneagram. They can be useful, but I think when you're trying to pit somebody like it's like a 1 through 9 scale. It's helpful, but if you're trying to pit somebody as a 1 or a 3 or a 4, I think it doesn't encapsulate that everyone is all those different things, just in different situations and different circumstances, like stressful situations or relaxed situations. And then it kind of just banks on, hey, you're this bucket and you're this bucket. Not like you two might be very similar people, you might have the same score, but you might be completely different handling both those processes. I think it's a way for us that we're supposed to be able to simplify how we rationalize people, but I think it does it a little too much, you know? The third class was conflict resolution. So it was like, oh, okay, like when you get into conflict with your partner, do you collapse? Do you need moments alone? Do you run away but want to be chased? Do you take it out on them? Do you do this? Do you do that? It's like none of these are right or wrong, right? It's like, but you have to know which one you are. It's like you can't. And like when I say like, do you take it on them? It's like, do you basically try to pass the blame and try to feign ignorance, right? It's like it's not. They talked about how it's not a frontal lobe issue, so you're not rationalizing how you're doing these actions. It's a not a brainstem, it's a amygdala issue where it's like, hey, it's an immediate like fight or flight response. You're acting this way. You're acting challenged. You're acting insecure. You're acting this way because that's just the way your brain is programmed, and you have to be able to understand that your partner's acting a certain way, and that you both have to figure out the best possible path to resolution. Even if that is, Tanner, you need a moment to walk away, and Matthew wants to chase after you, but Matthew has to understand that he needs to give you the moment so that you can have, whether it's 5 minutes or an hour, to rationalize it, process it, and then come towards you. It's stuff like that. The fourth one, which was the funniest one, it was about sex. So it was very similar to like it was like a faith led sex ed class almost, and it was just like, I think for a lot of kids that grow up in the church and don't have a ton of exposure, right? It's just a way for them to have a discussion about it where it's not taboo. Because especially in the South, if you talk about it, it's like, hey, here is something that you have to withhold from your entire life until you're married. And then you're getting married and no one's talked to you about it. So I think it's just a way for those that don't have any discussion or any history having any discourse about it, have a healthy, natural way to have discussion about it. That's all it is. But that one is the most awkward one, obviously. It's not something that anyone wants to talk about, and I won't really elaborate on it. But
No, it's true. Like I feel like we don't want to talk about it because it's taboo, but it's also like, man, God made this for us. So everyone likes to put it under a bad stigmatism, but when it's done in the right way, it's a beautiful thing. So yeah.
And everyone there, the first, third, and fourth classes were done by like licensed therapists that had their own practice. That were all, I think the fourth person had a master's degree, and the first and third had PhDs. Maybe the fourth also had a PhD, but like they were very well educated on the topic. Like this is what they do for their job. Is the third one for conflict resolution? Like their entire practice was like relationship counseling. The first one was like majority relationship counseling and some like interpersonal, like single personal counseling. And then the fourth one was sex counseling. That's all she does. And she's like, it's the same thing. It's relationship counseling, but it was like based off that lens where some people do have issues in. And it could be a family, like they come from abuse, or like the stereotypical, like, hey, we've grown apart because we've been married for 20 years
Hmm.
and we need help, you know?
Are those people like the dynamic of it? Is it like they're hired by the church, or they're hired and members, or they're just members volunteering? Do you know?
I think they were all members volunteering,
Nice.
every
That's
one of
awesome.
them. And so, like, what it is, we have, it was funny, our pastor, and it kind of leads into this, talked about relationships last week at church. And I can elaborate. There's something I want to talk to you about it specifically because we've talked outside where we had a friend, or you have a friend that was Christian. They married somebody that wasn't Christian, right? But uh, their partner became Christian far later in life, 20, 30, 40 years,
Mhm.
and then they passed away right after. And you had a question which was like, hey, did she make the right decision by marrying that person that didn't have faith? And I think in the moment I had said, I don't believe so. Because I think we both were called to have equal yoke, right?
Mm-hmm.
My pastor talked about this weekend. We don't have to, I don't have to go into it a ton because I could just send you the video.
Yeah.
But it was like hey, the passage they had talked about was like a piece where people try to do what's like romance. There's like romance ministering. He used a better term than that.
Good
But
old flirt and convert.
exactly. That's exactly what he meant, which was like, yeah, you're like 16, you're 18, you're 20, you see somebody that's beautiful, and you're like, yeah, they don't have faith, but I can fix them. I can save them. It's like,
Cute
no,
Lego Batman meme.
exactly. And but it's like, no, like that's not what you should be doing. You need to have equal yoke. And it was just a very intellectual discussion about that. But when we talked about everything for the group, it was all like that. The reason I brought it up is it was our third week when he had brought it up, our pastor, and he goes, "You should not be in a relationship as a woman or a man where it's not God seeking, and if you feel unsafe." And he's like, "If you need help, if you need counseling, like call Keith." And they put the guy that led our premarital counseling class up on the board.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And apparently they gave him a heads up like an hour before. Like, can we let everyone know? He's like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And so he was like, he didn't have a major heads up.
Good on him.
He was like, yeah, of course. Like, do whatever you need. He said that he only got like a dozen emails, which I hope that means that everyone is in a great relationship and not that they are scared to email about it.
Mm-hmm.
But he was like, I expected like 50 emails, and we ended up with like a dozen at this point. He's like, I can handle a dozen.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I'm not worried about these people not being seen or heard or getting the opportunity or the help they need. We're like, oh, that's great, you know? But yeah, he is a volunteer. He has his own private practice, and he's the one that's reaching out to the other therapists that he knows inside of Nashville that he's like, hey, like, I'm having this person because this is their specialty, right? It was really intimate to the class. It was like 6 students, including Meredith and I, and then the therapist that was there teaching.
Nice.
So
Nice.
Well, you're the married man. Do you remember doing all that and that kind of thing, or what?
We had mandatory marriage counseling before, and it's a 6-month process in the Catholic Church, but it's just you two and the priest, and then if there's a mentor couple as well involved in the process. At least that's how we did it. And there were some jarring questions for sure, and some of those questions are jarring because it's happened in the past, but you still have to answer it and go through it. And then there's also some really great questions that they ask to make sure that you've talked about those things, because some people, they might have, we have friends that were only together for a couple months and then they got engaged.
Mm-hmm.
And if maybe you can talk through everything in that amount of time, but most likely it's going to end up you're in the marriage and then you need to talk about it, which can be a little scary sometimes if you don't agree on something. So it's good that they're like getting you to talk about those things, especially children and how kids are going to be raised. And some of those questions were easier for us because if you're both Catholic and you agree on how you're going to raise your children, then you kind of just go on to the next question. You talk through it, but then you go on to the next one. But for others that may be not as equally yoked as you said, then they're trying to get you there. So I think the majority of what marriage counseling is kind of what you said, is just making sure you're equally yoked, and if possible, if it's close enough, maybe you can work on that together before you get married. If not, then you can maybe take a little bit longer, have a longer engagement to get to that point. But we actually had a point, I don't want to spoil it, but in Honduras, when we were there, this guy came down the road and he had two oxen that were pulling a cart, and he was controlling them with a stick, which was just amazing to watch. And they were massive creatures. I didn't realize how big they are. And Matthew bumps me and he goes, Tanner, that's what it means to be equally yoked right there. So
Well, I'll try to put the picture or the video in.
That
while you're
sounds good.
talking about that. Be good.
yeah.
More editing.
Yeah, more editing. But I like you asking about the dynamic of those counselors or whoever you went to, because what we'll see whenever we jump into Luke 3 is glorifying God in your profession. And it's, it may be one of the things mentioned in Luke 3 is a tax collector, a group of hated people, which I don't know about you guys. I'm not a big fan of paying taxes.
Right before tax season too.
Mm-hmm. Which I just did all that, and so here we are. But
Good on you.
yeah,
Good on
getting
you.
ahead.
Need to do
I should have done it before Honduras, because if something had happened, good luck
that.
to anyone having to deal with that. But
This is brought to you by no.
yeah, and so the tax collectors, like, even in a not liked job, like profession, the people don't like it. They're hated people, outcasts almost. You can still glorify God through that. And so it's encouraging to know that there are people within the local church, the church as a whole, that will do that and use it for the glorifying of God. So that's really cool.
Nice. I just want to make a stipulation. I kind of made it sound like marriage counseling was easy. It's not easy. It's not easy. So I don't want to make it sound like it was super easy. It was just that part that I was talking about with kids that we had already talked about. That was,
I wish they had forced the issue on stuff like that a little bit more. It was really because we were all in the class engaged and getting married. We're getting married in June. Another couple's July. Another one's October, right? And so they're like, I think they're basically accepting, like, hey, we're not going to convince you. They're not going to say otherwise, but they're like, we accept you're doing this. Like, this is happening. So here's what you need to do to learn for the best possible future relationship. Not like, hey, we need to get the ground rules. But those are things, to your point, where Meredith and I are very passive people. We've talked about just about anything that you could think about: kids, future, work, everything. And so, like, what are we looking at? Look at that. Dude. No, but you and him all looked up at the same time. So
I was just wondering where it was going to land.
The rapture? What is happening?
We're all
It's just me. No, I swear. But we're very passive people. We've talked about them, but I could definitely see people like us in the church that have kind of jumped topic points or jumped around issues rather than directly discussing or like intentionally confronting them. Because it's so easy to just be like, I love this person. This person's also Christian. They had the same faith as me. For you, it's like, hey, this person's also Catholic. For me, hey, they're also Baptist. We know that what we know. We're fine. And then just pretending like it's not something that's could actually cause conflict in the future. So the church, for your situation, puts it at the front. You have to talk about it. You have to
work through it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas for us, it was like, oh, this is great. Like, we learned so much about each other's personalities, like our conflict styles, like things that will help us in the future. It's not that it won't, but I wish they did do something like that, where it's like, hey, here are the bare minimums that you have to discuss about. And even if we were like, oh, like, we've already talked about these, it's like, well, it's not just for you, it's for everybody. Mm-hmm. There are people here that might be 3 months engaged and they're getting married on their by the 6th month of their relationship, And if that's the case, like, they need to have those discussions, and they might have not yet, right? Yeah. Especially if they're like 18 or 20, where they're younger and haven't had that opportunity. Everyone in our class too was like 24, 25, 26, 27. So like, they're old enough to be able to have enough brain development to be able to know like, hey, we have to talk about these things. And they we all weren't getting married to like within the first year of knowing each other, but
Mm-hmm.
those are things I wish they had pushed a little bit more on. But I think it is they did their best to get a base in that 1 month, and I think for y'all because the Catholic Church is such an institution, it is easy for y'all to go. You got 4 months, you got 6 months. Like here's your timeline, do it exactly as we say.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas another, like if I could see our church going, there are a ton of Baptist churches, and somebody will let them go in 2 weeks and not 4 months,
Right.
or sorry, in 4 weeks. So we're just gonna make it a 1 month course. So, but we'll have to do something like that just on our own in terms of like, hey, having more discussion, make sure we cross every T and dot every I,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I do have a question too. So, for the classes, was it more like an actual class where like they sit you down and I know you had like PhDs or um, doctorates come in and like did they like lead and kind of like discuss of like, hey, here's what we're talking about, this is why it's important, etc., and then let y'all like work through stuff like in the later half of class or like how did that format look?
It was basically exactly that. It was like first 45 minutes to an hour was like a lecture, and the last 30 minutes to 45 minutes was like an interactive either workbook or like just discussion points like, hey, you're going to talk about these things with your partner and you're going to come back and we're going to move on to the next thing and do it again. And so a lot of it was like first 15 minutes introduction to the each different counselor, and then why what we're going to learn is important, why it impacts us, and then 30 minutes of or 45 minutes of actual teaching on the subject matter. And then, hey, go and talk to your partner about these things, fill out this worksheet. And then one of it was like the third day was the conflict resolution styles. Or the first day was like write down how your parents, like if you go back to when you were 8 or you were 12, how would you view your mother's um perspective on men or father's perspective on women? How would they view what a wife is, what a child is in the household, what the relationship with God is, stuff like that, which is like just the, hey, what is their basis for life and the relationship with God, and how is that impacting you through your childhood? And then on the third day, it was like there was like a list of words. It looked like a word scramble. It was like select the ones here, like box the ones that, or sorry, it was like checker box the ones that you identify with, and then uh like highlight the ones that the top three that you identify with. And so I wish I brought the stuff then because I forgot. Like it's just they're emeritus place. We just left them there, but it was like to see which conflict styles you are, to understand like when this happens, even though like you're at the immediate instinct to act a certain way, you can rationalize like, oh, like them pushing away. It's not that they don't love me; it's that they just need a moment, right? And so part of it was like there are people in a lot of relationships, and they showed a video of one on the TV as like an example, but they were like, you might push people away, like you might push me away, but if I get pushed away, I might feel unloved and unworthy. So then I chase after you to affirm that I'm still loved and worthy. But you need the time alone.
Yeah.
So you keep on pushing me away and I keep on chasing you. And so you want to push away more because you're upset because I won't give you any space. And I'm freaking out because I feel even more unloved and unworthy of the relationship. And it's just a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
It's like at some point you need to figure out and break that cycle so you can start working on actual processes and habits and resolutions that fix that.
Yeah.
Right. And that could be you needing time. It could also be the person who's running away realizing I have to say, hey, just blatantly, I need a moment. I understand that you might feel unloved in this moment. Give me a moment and I will give you the time.
Yeah.
Right. And that's very direct, but sometimes that's just all it is. That's what they need to know. In our second class, and I think this is very nuclear. It might not be the best like processes. The second class was the one that didn't have the PhDs, but there was a conflict that the husband and wife had that was like the wife was upset, needed a moment, pushed away from the husband, and went in a different room. And the husband's first thought was, oh, she hates me and she's going to divorce me. And so he chases after her. And she's like, and she's like, dude, I just need a moment.
Yeah.
And so he gives her moment. It was like 15 minutes. She comes back and they talk about it, and she's like, we've been married for 5 years. Like, I'm not divorcing you. Like, I love you, but I just sometimes I need like some time, you
Yeah.
know? And that's a very evident, like, hey, like his brain shouldn't jump there, right? But it's a natural human thing to freak out. And if in that moment he felt unloved and unworthy. And that's how he rationalized it.
Sure.
When he needs to sit there and like she needs her moment, he needs to rationalize, hey, she needs this second. She still loves me, but we all need moments to catch up, right? It's the same thing as like if you're introverted or extroverted. Some people want to go socialize to get a pick me up, and then some people need a moment to themselves, whether it's video games, reading, whatever, just to feel like a normal human being again to get a pick me up. So
And then I'd ask the same question to you, Tanner. Like for Catholic Church, more one-on-one, how does that look as far as like, is it them working through it with you, or are they kind of like educating as you go, or like maybe do they bring in more? Because I know y'all have more tradition and heritage to that. Does that tie into it more as well, or
Um, so it's similar to that, but it's more a one-on-one couple and priest. I like how y'all have like PhDs and stuff. I think that would be great.
I just hit my mic so bad. I'm sorry. Go for it again.
Uh, I like that y'all have like PhDs that y'all can talk to, which is it's really cool. I kind of wish we had that because the way we had it was we had PhDs, but it was like a course, online course, that you went through, and it's not like it was one on one or even a group with that person that you could be like, hey, let's talk about certain things. There is that option. It's like a weekend retreat that you go to with a whole bunch of other couples. Unfortunately, we just didn't have the right timing for that. So it's either that or you do the online thing, and then everything else is with the priest. And the main learning part of like conflict resolution and things like that is the online part or that weekend retreat. And then the priest part is to um, give you the questions to get you to start talking, because basically he's there to help and to teach as well, but mostly he's there to like stoke the fire of like, hey, talk to each other about these things that we want you to talk about before you get married, so we know you're on the same page. Or even if you're not on the same page, that's fine, but let's try and get either closer to it or resolve it right now before we get to the point of when it's actually happening. Again, going back to the example of children. So yeah, that's kind of what it is.
Very cool. Sorry, I didn't mean to derail us all to like marriage counseling talk, but I just wondered.
It was cool too because he made sure that we had one-on-one time of like I'd take him out to lunch and we would talk, and then he would have another meeting with her and they would talk, and then we would come together and have a conversation, because we do have 6 months. They require 6 months. Obviously, we could probably get everything done if you wanted to in a month, like you said, but they kind of draw it out. One, because it's the Catholic Church and they say it takes this amount of time. And two, I think they obviously have a purpose for that of like, maybe it gives you time to think about it on your own. And then when you come to the meeting again, you have something to develop and talk about. So
Yeah, I could definitely see it being less intense and like overwhelming and like you have to figure this out right now.
yeah.
say the one thing is they would tell us at the end, they're like, go get dinner. Like make it a date night, go talk for an hour after this about what you want to talk about. And like we would leave, and typically she would work from home on those Tuesdays. I'd go pick her up. By the time we got to the restaurant, I'd say like it was like 15-minute drive. We were already done with the conversation because it was like we'd already talked about a lot of the stuff before, right? Then the conflict resolution stuff was like more just affirming, like, okay, when we do have conflict or if she's had a bad day, it's like obviously you can tell when your partner's having a bad day, and you're like, have I been doing these things right? Have we these interactions? Have I been reading them correctly? Same thing for her. It's like, have I been reading these correctly? And to be honest, like for the most part, we had. And so the discussion there was like, okay, it's nice to know that I have been doing it right. But then from there, it was like, okay, what do you think? Like, we could do better. And it was like a 2-minute discussion on that, and then we were done. And so like I think on the first day, she was a little late because we didn't understand like how impactful it would or would not be. So the first week she was a little bit behind, and so we talked about it a little bit more there because I was just filling her in. But other than that, it was like 15 minutes. It was not anything where I'm sure people that haven't had the discussion before, it might be 30 minutes, an hour. But for us, it was lucky that it wasn't that long. It's funny for the Catholic retreat. I want to ask questions about that because I have a coworker, shout out Kevin, that is going on a Catholic retreat in like 3 weeks, maybe like no, it's like 3. So like he's going then, and one of my coworkers, whenever he talked to him about it, he's like, "So you guys going camping?" He's like, "What's going on? Like, what does that process look like?" I know you didn't go through it, but I'm sure you
Oh,
know
well,
more
yeah,
about
there's
it.
plenty of different types of retreats that people go on. We actually have, well, when I say we, I mean the Catholic Diocese of Memphis, which is basically all of West Tennessee. There's a retreat center in Jackson that so you'll go from everybody will either get in a van or drive by themselves and they'll go to that retreat center in Jackson that the diocese owns. And it's like it used to be, I think I might get this wrong. It used to be like a vineyard or something. So it has a whole bunch of open space that you can do stuff. I think they have some other things built out like sand volleyball and things like that. So it's probably a lot like other retreats where you can just you go, you spend time with the people there, and then you'll have devotions and you'll go to mass together and you'll go to adoration together, things like that. So, and then you'll go over the actual retreat material that they want. Um, I'd like to go to one soon. Some of them are less structured than that, where it is camping. I've seen some that are it's not strictly camping, but it's like, hey, we're gonna go float the river
Mm-hmm.
in a kayak or canoe, and then along the way we'll have devotions, and we'll. I mean, if a priest is anywhere, he can celebrate mass if he has the right materials. So there's Catholic retreats where they go hiking for miles and miles and miles, days and days and days, and on top of a remote mountain they'll have mass, which is pretty sweet.
That's
So
cool.
yeah, yeah.
Well, I to give a well, first of all, I'll say this. I think to whatever kind of marriage counseling happens, it's not a cure all or a band aid. It is simply a step in y'all's relationship. Because all these things are going to be continued conversations when you're married and you're out of the counseling. So I think that's neat to watch that improvement, that growth in God. So that's good stuff. I'm going to do a choppy transition to the Honduras trip because we're talking about marriage, and Tanner skipped out on Valentine's Day to go to Honduras. But also, this was my third year going. This was your first, so I want you to have the floor in talking about it. Talk about the experience of the trip. We're grateful for the prayers. We were there for a week, so I think maybe there may be some confusion in listening to the episodes that we were there like 2 weeks. We were there from the 13th to the 20th. Um, but yeah, I mean, if you guys have any questions for Tanner or I, but Tanner, how was Honduras?
I mean, it was an amazing experience, definitely eye opening. You can't learn it all or get it all in a week. So even in this week that I've been back, I've kind of been taking it all in of what we experienced. But um, I think two of the main takeaways were first off, the guys there, the guys that we went with were just incredible. There's 75 guys, 75 guys. Apparently, that's the biggest they've ever had, which was cool. The whole week, I'm just sitting there trying to remember names, and I was doing pretty good job
You
at
did
it.
great.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. I was really trying my best because honestly, I'm really not that good with names. I couldn't tell you. I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, man, I know this guy's name. I couldn't tell you a single person's last name, but they were just
You can
amazing.
tell one
Yeah,
person's
yeah,
last
two
name.
people,
Two people.
two people. But they were amazing. You could just tell that they were living out their Christian life in an amazing aspect of like they were just radiating with this faith and this love for the people there. Some of them were there like me for the first time, and then others were there for like their 25th year, which was incredible. That means they've been going about the same amount of time I've been alive. So that's crazy. And then every morning at 5:30, and then every evening at around after dinner, we'd have songs and devotion. The devos were great. There were so many great ones. Matthew did an amazing job talking about love, like we're just talking about. But I was surprised at how amazing the songs were. And a lot of them were just typical, like, gospel songs. Like, some of them that were just mainstream gospel songs. But when you have, in the mornings, we would congregate. The hotel has like a cafeteria, basically. When I say cafeteria, it's small. You got 70 guys in there, and it was hot. It was really hot. But when you have 70 guys singing, no instruments, just
Amen.
singing,
I was about to say acapella.
acapella, deep voices. It was incredible. It was just so moving, and I learned some songs along the way, and then other songs I knew the words, and it was fantastic to be able to join in on it. But I didn't think it could get any better, and then it just would. It was fantastic. And then we would sing outside as well, and it would just sound awesome. And usually you would think that you'd have a few guys that would be like, man, I'm cool, I'm not singing. No, everybody was singing. And they would go on these renditions of, like, they would sing and then they would repeat. They'd have people doing different I guess parts of it.
Yeah, I think some of those were mixed songs that usually the women would take part in. So like
Okay.
if the tenors would replace the women's parts,
Gotcha.
and then the bass would continue there. So
That was so cool also. But yeah, just seeing 75 guys just chanting it out and praising the Lord was an amazing experience. So and then the second takeaway was the children that were there were amazing, and so is Matthew. So literally, I'm not joking. We When you go, you stay in the hotel, but then every morning you have to make the journey up this mountain, which is maybe 100 yards of paved road, and then it gets into this really bumpy, like, I wouldn't even call it gravel. Like your gravel driveway, that thing is so silky smooth compared to this road. It was jumping you everywhere. The first day I was like, man, I'm gonna be sick. And then by the end of the day, or the end of the trip, I was like, man, I could sleep on this. Like, it's nothing. But we go up the mountain every day, and along the way, every kid on that mountain knows Matthew, which is like, I'm just still bewildered by it, because you just go up the mountain, Mateo, 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 Mateo. Everybody knows Matthew. We went to church on Sunday, and on Wednesday we had one of the guys had this amazing idea of, like, hey, let's just feed everybody on the mountain, which is, so many people looked at him like, dude, what? Like, how is that even possible? It had to be 500 people show up. It was incredible. But when the kids would show up, it was Mateo, Mateo, Mateo. And I was like, man, everybody on the mountain knows Matthew. And then we got down the mountain. It was one of the last days, and there's a Pizza Hut there. I don't know why there's a Pizza Hut, but we were walking to Pizza Hut. And this random dude comes out of the street, and it was like, Mateo! And Matthew was like, hey, how's it going? And they looked at me and he goes, I have no clue who that guy is.
Still don't.
Yeah.
Lo siento.
Everyone knows Matthew, it's incredible. And he hasn't been going for 20 something years. He's been going for 3 years. And it just shows, like, he's taken on this, like, protector role when he's on the mountain of, like, hey, let me take care of the kids, make sure they're not in any trouble, make sure nobody's messing with them, even though some of the kids are just so sweet. They're just adorable and sweet.
Some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're very appreciative. Most of them are always appreciative. And I will say all of them, even the ones that aren't very sweet, they all share with each other. So, like, Matthew's dad or Matthew or somebody would get treats for them, and they would say compartir, and which means share. and they would always share with each other. Even the one kid, I won't say his name, but all he asked for, he didn't know much English, but all he would say is
Money, money, please, money.
which it sounds terrible, but he honestly, that's all he wanted, because that's, I don't know why, that's all he thought
I
he
think
could
it
get
was a
from us.
running joke.
Yeah.
Because he is one of the better ones in terms of just you know, you don't want to create a needy culture. You can't just give them everything, and you can't fix every problem, unfortunately. But yeah, he's so. I think he just turned it into a joke.
He did. And he would come up to the job site and be like, too fail, Matthew, too fail, or something like that. And the Matthew would give it right back to him.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
great. But yeah, the children were great. And Matthew and his dad give soccer balls to these kids every year. And you see the kids here, and there's good kids here, but like you've never seen a kid light up over a soccer ball. Just a soccer ball, not even like a Premier League soccer ball or anything like that. It's just a soccer ball, and it's the most amazing thing they've ever gotten. So it was an amazing trip.
I want to shout out Osborne Soccer Park, where my dad goes and takes his walk, and he will note that there's a soccer ball left there on the field or wherever, and then after 2 weeks of not getting picked up, he'll just take it. And so we thank you for your contributions to Honduras over these few years. Many soccer balls have been taken down, and you're right. I mean, they do love it. It's great. Um, Other than what you had mentioned already, what are some of the ways that you saw God on the trip? How did you grow in your faith? Stuff like that.
Um, I definitely saw God in the fact of like the way that people congregate. So when we were there on Wednesday and at the church building, and all the people came to eat, one, there's 75 of us, so there wasn't a job for all of us, but some of the guys, they had just got done working, and immediately they're hungry, we're hungry, everyone's hungry. We've just been working in the sun all day, but immediately the guys working just took over and were like, "Hey, we'll serve," and they started serving it out, which was just like, man, we're meant to be servants, and they were just amazing like representations of that. So that was great to see. Um, One of the guys that I spent the most time with, his name's Preston, just an amazing guy. He's amazing guy. The way he talks about his kids was amazing. His dad was there, which was so cool. Just to see the dynamic of them together, father and son, and the way that the people that have been going for 25 years are now passing down that to either their sons or younger people at the church who are going to take over. They have a plan. They're not going to let this die out with them. They're going to make sure that other people are going down there and taking care and have a lasting plan for this community that they're helping serve. So there's a second part to your question. What did you say?
And how did you grow in your faith?
Growing my faith. Okay, so I realized this was actually when I got back. How little I know about Church of Christ. And my mom is currently looking for a church, and I was like, man, the guys, she's not Catholic. She kind of expressed that she doesn't want to go to a Catholic church, so that's fine. I don't want to push it. I want her just to go to church, which would be great. And I was like, you should go and just check out Barry's Chapel, because the guys on the trip were amazing. They're living their faith. And I said, it's Church of Christ. And she goes, so what is Church of Christ? And I was like, man, that's a great question. Like I've just been on a trip with these guys, and I know how amazing they are and some of their traditions. But other than the fact of like, they're great people, they love the Lord, they love the people they're taking care of, and they don't like instruments. What else do I know about Church of Christ? So I think I need to I need to learn more about my friends and brothers like churches to know more about them. So I think that's where I want to go with like growing in my faith.
Absolutely. I love that. Yeah, I'll say for me for the trip, right off the bat. So obviously it was God's hand to get the booking of the flights, to get us all all taken care of in terms of getting down there was great. Well, on the way to Miami, which is where our connecting flight was, about we were about to land, 20 minutes to land, and they said we're going to have to circle the airport. There's traffic on the runway, whatever it was. If we're up here for too long, we'll have to go to Fort Lauderdale and refuel and then come back. So I'm just like, typical. That would happen on the largest group to Honduras that we've had, and it's just one of those things. So this is not any prideful thing, but I'm just honored that God answered the prayer, because I could have done what I usually do and just be like, great, and then just watch whatever movie I was watching. But I prayed about it, quick little 30 seconds, and not 5 minutes later did they say, we're going to land in Miami, it'll be
It's
fine.
quick.
So that was just an immediate just interaction with God that I felt. I wish Dawson was here because I wanted to compare it to his wedding day, so I'll venture back to that, but it was very similar to that. And then we get down there, and yes, the people, I mean, you can't take away much else than just the people that we served, and that served us. I mean, really, we were just there. Someone described the trip as a men's spiritual retreat, and along the way, 5 homes got built. And I don't think I could sum it up any better than that.
It's fantastic.
It always powerful to hear the singing, the devotionals, to see the discipline, because I wouldn't have minded sleeping in, a few more hours. But it was good to get out there and work your body. I mean, I didn't get a whole lot of sleep on the trip, but I never felt tired. So it was good to work and good to be in unison with or reconciliation. That was a big theme.
Mm-hmm.
To be in reconciliation with the love that God has for us, and to experience that with the people up there, the men that we went with, the joys that were shared, the tears that were shed by a room full of grown men.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I'm honored to have experienced that with you. I think we grew closer in our brotherhood, and I think we were both kind of tired at the beginning of the trip, and then about halfway through, we started having really deeper conversations, and it was great to experience that with you. So I'm honored to have done so.
I agree. It was like we would get done with our devotion at night, and then we'd go back to the room, and we would just talk to each other about different things about our faith, things in the Bible, things that we might talk about at the podcast, stuff like that. And we were just energized to talk about that. And then immediately afterwards, I would just fall asleep. And I slept so hard. Each morning I'd wake up and the covers from like the sheets that were on the mattress would be pulled off and around me somehow. I don't know what was going on. I'm sure the ladies that were cleaning were like, what's wrong with this guy? But yeah, there were some really good conversations for sure.
Is there anything that they asked y'all to pray about? Any of the members? Or
Oh, yeah.
Any of the people you were helping?
Yeah, those are kind of personal to them.
Okay.
They which I will say is like amazing for them as of 75 people, and they were there to share something very personal that they were like, man, this is really hurting me, but I know the power of prayer, and if 75 guys here are praying for that, something's going to happen, which was incredible. Because even sometimes with this group on our Monday nights, there's only 6 of us, and sometimes I'm like, man, I don't know if I can share this because I'm scared, or I don't know if it'll even be worth it. But for the way that they were just so brave to share it was incredible. So just things that are afflicting them in life, most of it was family stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
It's definitely a brotherhood that is made, and it, we, Tanner and I especially, we cut up with each other about Catholic, Protestant, Church of Christ. It's all in good fun and in love, and we do push each other in our faith, which is great. But I mean, there's 75 different perspectives, different faiths, different testimonies, and to be in a room and not be afraid to speak in the spirit of that unison that we have as a church. I think a couple episodes, Mitchell, you mentioned, one of us is the hand and the other's the foot, and that's what it feels like. There's a whole lot of different hands, different feet, and different just differences in that room that man, it's so powerful. And to Mario's word, it's so beautiful. Like
Yeah.
it really is just a unique experience to the gospel that you don't get, unfortunately, even just meeting in a small group weekly. It does take doing something like that. So something I would encourage is to say yes to a mission trip of some kind, even if you don't feel called to it. I don't feel called to go to church every Sunday, but man, I get something out of it every time. Like you will, your life will change, and it will continue to change when you get back from it. So
This is a dumber question. Did they see you and go, yes?
For what?
Tall, young guy.
There was, okay, some of them were like, oh, yeah, he's tall. That'll be great. But there was this one guy there. He was massive. And when I say massive, I mean he was maybe only a few inches shorter than me, but he was built like they called him Clark Kent. He was built like Superman. And we were all like, dang, we're glad he's here. Like, it was amazing. And he got a haircut at the end of the trip. A lot of guys got a haircut. And when he came back, I was like, Clark Kent or handsome Shrek? I'm not sure which was better. He looked a little like that too, so that was cool. But yeah, the guy that I was working with, Preston, dude is super strong. Just biceps bigger than my legs. Like he's super strong. And he was doing a lot of the work, and he was super brave getting on top of the houses and the roof. And it's a 2-story house, and it was not a fun thing to obviously to fall off that,
No
but
OSHA.
to add no OSHA, and to add on to the whole thing, like one of the sides was a fence that had barbed wire, so it was like, man, you fall on that would be very fun. But so everything that got hard, he'd be like, okay, I got this, and he would do it. And then it got to the point where he's like, I can't fit through the rafters because I'm so strong. And I can't reach this. And I was like, man, there's even a place for me here. Because I was so skinny, and I just got my shoulders to the rafters and leaned over and was hammering all the nails. And I was like, I was feeling bad for a second because I was like, man, how much do I have to offer? But I was there for that part. So God has a place for you no matter if you don't, like, I'm an accountant. I have some experience just because of COVID, and I was helping do bathrooms and kitchens, but I've only put up siding once before I went to this place, and so I learned a lot from that as well. So
I'll say this is it's a little bit of a diatribe on the side, but like they talk about that for like women in blue collar jobs, where like if you're, oh no, but like it'll lean up a little bit, which is like
Okay.
the same thing, which is like if you're a woman electrician, where it's like you have to get in specific places, and a man with a meaty hand can't fit in certain places that a woman would be able to. The same way where it's like, hey, we're called to do these things, and you might think, oh well, I don't fit the mold. I'm not the exact like norm. I'm different from everybody else. It's that. It's the, hey, no, there's a role for you here. There's a situation where you are what everyone needs, and you just don't know it yet, right?
yeah, that's true.
And I can speak to that only because I had the honor of so at the end of the trip we present the homes to the families, and what they did differently this year was everyone got to watch the presentation of the home, and usually one person from the team will present the home and someone will translate to the family, and all hugs, all tears, all around. It's good stuff. Well, I had the honor of presenting the home to our family, and it was about 10 minutes before we presented it that I found out I was going to do this. So,
Yeah.
no idea what I was going to say. But to Ben's point, part of my presentation was that I stood around and watched a home get built the whole week. And
Which is not true.
which the truth of the matter is, I mean, I helped, but I'm limited in how much I can help. But in the meantime, I I heard the most precious voices from the kids on the job site that we were building for. It was there were age range 2 to like 8. It was 2 older sisters and a 2-year-old brother, who the 2-year-old, all he could say was, And you just hear that
Hola.
all through the job site all day. It was so funny.
So cute.
And but the two girls I got along with so well, and the oldest one was super sensitive. Didn't need to understand Spanish at all. She would just run up and be like, her personality, her facial expressions. She wasn't a hugger. It was so funny. And then the youngest one, she buddied up with me. She was super sweet, and she just wanted to watch Bluey in Spanish on my phone. And then she'd come up and ask for, a treat like Tanner was talking about. Or if the ice cream man came by, which, yes, they have an ice cream man,
Mm-hmm.
we'd get them all ice cream. And it was so great. But again, with that unison of love, like, that's part of my purpose there. Like, most people there, and I think it's unfortunate, they go there and their purpose is to build the home, but they don't necessarily interact with the family or get that connection. But man, I'm so fortunate to be able to, like, I moved some lumber, I helped my dad when he cut the wood, did a few things, but to experience the love without having to understand the language is just so fulfilling and so unique. And um, I can only imagine what it was like on the day of Pentecost when everyone was hearing the gospel in their own language. Like, I'm sure that was great, but to hear the gospel without hearing the language, like, it's just so special to me, and I love that every year. So very grateful for that.
It's awesome. I have two more things.
Go for it, and then we'll cut out.
That sounds good.
Hey,
Uh,
pray out. 'Cause we
Then we'll
forgot
pray
to
out
end.
because yes, we forgot to pray.
The way Matthew and his dad, Dan, interact with each other made the trip so much fun. They are literally copies of each other. And when somebody would they would go at it with each other, but when somebody would give a little, because we're jiving with everybody on the job site, and when someone would jive with Dan, he would say something back, and it would be funny, and then someone would drive with Matthew, and he would say something along the exact same lines of, like, they were just twins in the fact of so alike. And again, the father and son dynamic of him and his dad, and Preston and his dad, was just amazing. And somebody at the beginning of the trip was like, hey, I used to come on this trip with my dad, and he's no longer here. So enjoy the time that you have and really cherish it with them. So I thought that was an amazing point of view that guy shared. So, and then the second thing is one of the funniest parts of the trip. Again, it was Wednesday night, and we were serving dinner, and this little girl comes up to me, and she's got this ball, and you thought it was something else? This little girl chucks me, or I'm like, throw me the ball, and she's like, what do you mean? And she finally gets it, and she throws it to me, and then I throw it back, and her eyes light up like she's never played catch before in her life, which was crazy to think to me. And so she's just having the greatest time, and she's not even further than my coffee cup is right there, and we're just tossing the ball back and forth. And she calls her friend over, and she starts doing the same thing, like she's never played catch before, because every time I threw it back, none of them could catch it. And so, like, along the whole trip, we asked them what their name is. Como te llamas?
Dude, I don't even remember.
Dude, both of these girls, they go, my name is... They'd be like, my name's Austin, or my name's O'Neill, or something like that. And they've said there are 8 names that they have. And Matthew and I looked at each other, and I was like, did you catch any of that?
Not a single word.
And I was like, okay, let's move on to the next one. I asked the next girl, she did the exact same thing. Like, we're talking... And I know the Latino culture has their first name, their baptism name, their middle name, they have a bunch of names, but it was so funny that we couldn't even catch one of the names. And all I could think about, and I think you just said it, was from Zach and Cody, where his name's like, my name's Esteban. Yes, all I could think about was that, and I was dying. So, but if you thought it was something else,
well, okay, I thought of we finally sit down to eat after everyone has been served. And Tanner and I are sitting there, and we're both dog tired. I mean, it's been a day. Well, someone else from another site who's been the last few years, who I got to work on his team, his name is Josh. He came over and sat down, and he looked at Tanner. He goes, well, Tanner, have we got you yet? And Tanner goes, what do you mean? He goes, well, if you converted. And I mean, it was just the funniest thing after such a long day, because again with that love, like you knew it wasn't anything bad. And so it's just really funny to see how quickly people connected with you and welcomed you in,
Yeah.
which I knew they'd be welcoming, but you know, to your point of just that dynamic of people. I mean, Tanner had texted us separately in the group text before the trip and asked a question of like, "Hey guys, is sarcasm sinful?" Because whatever reason you gave, and you were thinking about it, which that's my whole personality. So thanks a lot for that.
No,
But then we get on this trip. How much wasn't sarcasm?
yeah, exactly.
So it was just really funny and really.
It's just a Church of Christ thing.
But
I think it's just a guy thing.
It's
When
definitely
you
a guy
got too
thing.
many guys together for sure. The funniest part of that was he asked me that question. I said no. We laughed. He got right up and went and sat with somebody else, and I was like, "Dude, what? What just happened?" It was hilarious.
So they knew immediately you were Catholic. I assume there's
A few of them.
A few of them knew, yeah. Well, they part of it at the pre-meeting that we had here in the States, and then when we got there, they did the same thing, which was stand up, everybody, and tell us your name and what church you're from. And each time I look at Matthew like, and so I had to stand up and say, my name's Tanner Munzel, St. Henry Catholic Church. So, yeah.
It's good stuff. Well, we are so blessed to be back.
Mhm.
But you know, we are looking forward to next year. Hopefully, some of the rest of you guys can get on board or,
That would be
figure out some
amazing.
kind of mission trip that we can do because it's so fulfilling. But I think we're coming up on an hour-ish of
Yeah.
this recording, so we'll go ahead and pray out. Do we have any prayer requests? Um, you know, from you guys, we hope to see some prayer requests if you guys need it. Tanner talked about um, just that boldness that it is to be in a room full of people that you don't know. If you'd like prayer requests that are here on the air, then great. Or if you just want us to pray for you in private, more than happy to do so. So, do you guys have anything specifically? Pray for Dawson and his busyness. He's
Mhm.
not here.
Pray for Mario. Thank you so much, Mario, for coming.
Yep, appreciate you, Mario.
I think you don't like us because you're not here with us, but just kidding.
All right. If anything comes up, I'll include it. Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for allowing us this time to just come to you and come together and learn about just each other's perspectives, our lives, and be able to glorify you with them in different aspects and different ways. And Lord, we didn't jump into your word today, but Lord, your word was exemplified through our conversation. And so we're grateful to be here for that. We just want to lift up Dawson and his busy season right now and just pray for blessings over him as he's not able to make it today. We thank you for Mario being willing to step up and step in our absence, and we're so grateful for his testimony and his life and the fire that he has for you. And we just look forward to being able to work with him in spreading the kingdom here on earth. Lord, just thank you for these brothers that I have here on the couch with me, and I just pray blessings over them and their relationships, and whether that's you, other people. Lord, I just thank you so much for their faith and their encouragement for my faith to grow, and just the brotherhood that we have here. And thank you for those watching and listening to us, Lord. Pray blessings over them through their trials and through their temptations, and Lord, we know that it's an imperfect world. We are imperfect people, and that's okay. I just pray that everyone listening and watching can understand that they have a perfect Savior to turn to and grow with in love and in unity. Lord, we thank you so much. Bless this day, and it's in your Son's name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Catch you guys next time on The Mission.